presentation, we will be talking about financial cyber threat landscape of the Philippines. As much as we have learned about this topic earlier today, during the plenary session, we will be receiving fresh insights from our speaker from Group IB, a leading provider of security solutions. Our speaker is a technology veteran who received his Bachelor of Computing from National University of Singapore and graduated magna cum laude before pursuing his Masters of Technology. He has worked with companies such as BAE Systems and several government agencies throughout Asia Pacific. He is also a consultant to many global banks and universities on matters of digital transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Shafique Dawood, Head of Business and Sales Development, APAC at Group IB.
A very good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. From Group IB, my name is Shafique Dawood. I'm the Managing Director of APAC. Today we're going to talk about the financial threat landscape in the Philippines. Cyber criminals have different types of motivations today, ranging from, of course, financially motivated cyber criminals, which is the majority. And then you have cyber army, state-sponsored groups, all the way to cyber terrorists and hacktivists, and also specific targeted motivated groups that have targeted motivations, right? And this is constantly dynamic and changing, especially in this COVID environment that we have. Let me tell you a little bit about Group IB, just in case you are not familiar with us. We are a company that has been 18 years in the business, coming to 19 years in the business, and we have products and services that are represented in Forrester, Frost & Sullivan, IDC, Gartner. More importantly, our legacy and pedigree came from investigations and incident response. We have about almost 500 over enterprise customers and about 600 over employees worldwide. We've done huge amounts of incident response on global customers, enterprise, and otherwise, and have done almost about 1,300 different cybercriminal investigations, very high-tech cybercrime cases that we work in conjunction with our official partners, Interpol and Europol. We also recommend by the OSCE and SWIFT, and we have a whole range of different clientele. So the whole evolution of Group IB has been significant with certain patented technologies that we have, certain value propositions we bring to the table. We have our global headquarters in Singapore as of 2019, and we've opened up recently both in Amsterdam and Dubai as relevant headquarters in their specific territories. 18 years in the business is a long time, and we are proud of our legacy and our pedigree, having zero tolerance to cybercrime and catching cybercriminals worldwide. So let's talk about the Philippines today. What about the financial sector in the Philippines? What's going on here? You know, we see there are a few key trends on the rise, ranging from phishing to fraudulent attacks, spam, scams, even attacks on brands. You know, so how do we literally counter this? Because the methodologies, the exploits are literally becoming more advanced. You know, with links that are more personalized, with the rabbit hole theory that we have, and it's just a matter of time before more scams come about. You know, last year alone, Australia lost about 850 million through scams, Singapore about 21 million. But before we go into scams, let's talk a little bit about the trending in the FSI sector. There are about 47,397 compromised cards that we saw recently on a sample spacing that I just took off my portal, and also on an underground price of 1.7 million. And this is a systemic problem, as you can see from the graphs, you know, the different types of spikes that we see, and the cost to companies are amazing. So this is something that we need to counter through the knowledge of compromised credentials. Aside from that, in terms of a financial crimes perspective, the kinds of compromised credit card source range from trick bots to carding panels such as Joker, Stash, EnerShop, FB Shop, and we track all of these different control panels. 75% of these compromised cards are available basically just on Joker, Stash, EnerShop, and FB Shop alone, and that is disconcerting. And as you know, compromised cards, compromised credentials can lead to different types of other attacks. In a crime trends perspective, as I have just mentioned, we have compromised cards that are available, and also different card providers such as MasterCard, Visa. We have some statistics here, some of which, the ones that are not specified, is about 11%, but the rest of them are not expired, giving the validity of the compromised cards. Aside from that, in terms of an account compromise, like I said, these account compromise can lead to systemic problems, ranging from initial access that can lead to even potential ransomware, right? We see clowns and other types of threat actors coming in with C2 servers that we monitor and track, and we have a huge amount of compromised accounts. With these accounts, it will lead to a lot of other types of problems that can enable even privilege escalation to lateral movement and an overall compromise of your enterprise. There are a lot of phishing campaigns detected in the Philippines, especially in June, that we detect, and this is something of a major concern. Coming through emails, the level of awareness, people are still clicking these links and getting compromised. In terms of major phishing campaigns, as I mentioned, in June was the most, and this is about awareness that needs to be made towards the enterprise customers. You know, if you don't create that awareness, you're still going to have this systemic problem, because you cannot control the mobile devices or the web, the desktops or laptops of your clients. What are the threats to the banking sector, aside from compromised credit cards that seem to be huge right now? In terms of a market size dynamic, it's literally mind-blowing at this time in the Philippines, about 2.5 million onwards, upwards. And these cards from these, as I mentioned to you, are still readily available in some of these panels, FE Shop, and so on and so forth. In terms of a card dumps, this is also a problem. We saw it in January, having a market size of 1.3 million. And it's not just the Russian market. It's not just Russian cyber criminals anymore. It's starting to expand and become global. You know, from enter shop to dump stores to fresh stuffs, we see that level of card dumps is becoming more and more global. In terms of data leaks, we monitor the dark web and we see huge amounts of data leaks everywhere, systemically throughout the different verticals, not just on raid forums or just XSS, ISS, but huge amount of other forums. And these data leaks are a huge concern that everybody needs to take note of. Based on the kind of schemas that we see, it's very, very advanced. It's highly categorized. Threat actor wakes up in the morning, he's huge amounts of data right there. Threats to SWIFT still exist from Lazarus, the North Korean APT group. And one of the things that we've seen, there are a few unconfirmed incidents coming out of Argentina, India, Kenya, Ghana, and even Jordan. We saw one coming out of NanoSwift, by which he's using PowerShell Empire, and also utilizing things, old school methods such as keyloggers and public exploits. These two groups are what pose a huge threat. And in terms of a payment gateway, we see the trending of money taker, Cobalt, and Silence that you've already heard a lot of times being spoken about. But recently in September 2020, there was issues in the United Coconut Planters Bank in the Philippines. And they literally siphoned about 3.44 million through InstaPay. And 4 Nigerians were arrested for this. Pegasus Technologies in Uganda also got a huge amount of money via Airtel. So you see how these threat actors are operating. You know, it's not ATM jackpotting per se. It's literally withdrawing through different types of wallets and payment gateways. 2 incidents in September and October of 2020, one of them by which is an ATM attack in Senegal by Silence Group in 2019, and D-Track is something that's being used by Lazarus to attack ATM machines. So the forecast for the banking sector here, we look at even the Philippines, how it's being affected. Mainly in this slide, it's about ransomware. A lot of shift of focus of ransomware affiliate programs, you know, the stealing of compromised credentials ranging from VIP to, you know, mergers and acquisition papers, legal papers, very similar to like WikiLeaks, like the Panama Papers, and also new groups coming out of Africa. So this is something that we need to counter and understand the different IOCs and TTPs that might impact you, and understand the relevancy of whether or not you're truly protected. We've got a huge amount of botnets that we monitor and track. We have systems by which literally stop it on a preventive proxy perspective. And we see these types of botnets literally being used in ransomware, ranging from Ryuk to Kraken to Thanos, Conti to Drydex, which was formerly Crydex, and Qbot, etc. Right? So we've got about 19 banking Trojans, 6 botnets are Brazilian, and 5 of them are Russian speaking. So these are things that you need to be aware of, because any one of these can impact your organization. In terms of banking botnets for Android, we've got about 10 banking Trojans and 1 Trojan that developer shifted its focus more towards JS sniffers. In Group IB, we've charted out huge amounts of JS sniffer families. And this is something that I'm just going to put it on the record. You guys need to read about a little bit more. We have a lot of material on this. Lazarus, for instance, you know, are still using ATM jackpotting methods. Because why? Because there are a lot of different countries right now, ranging from Vietnam to Philippines to even Indonesia, that have a lot of vulnerabilities in this area. Right? It's touchless, you know, it's fast cash 2.0. They manipulate these ATM networks and digital authentication checks, bypass it, and literally cash out. This is not really the best way, you know, but still it's happening. This is the landscape of some of the threat actors that we see and where they are operating. As you can see, this is totally global. Cobalt to Silence, Lazarus to Silent Cards. 53% are effective, and almost 15% were able to be prevented throughout the whole entire timeline. Huge amounts of targeted attacks ranging from the old school bootstrap, lurk, Corco, Cobalt. This is the evolution. Why is it important to understand evolution? Because if not, you're not able to detect. If not, you're not able to attribute based on these types of groupings. And it is important that you attribute. This is why we call our threat intelligence, and attribution, Group IB. And that's what I have today. If you have any questions, please feel free to post it on the panel, and I'll be more than happy to answer it later on. Thank you very much, and have a blessed day ahead.